trying to have delay of gratification and
Mhm.
just, trust that it will all work out. But it's
Mm.
fun. It's nice to meet other vegan people and health
Mhm.
conscious people and interview people. So it's been interesting.
I like it. You can hear me clearly, right? Because I think this is not working.
Yeah, no,
So
I can hear you perfect.
She move her body like a shaman. All in my head, so much iconic. Just say that word, baby, I'm on it. If this ain't love, then I don't want it. She move her body like a shaman.
hi, welcome today, guys. Well, welcome to Culture Healing. Apologies. Today another sisterhood series. It's so fussy as usual. So we are doing another sister series with Dalyce.
Hi, hello.
Right. So we haven't figured out what we're going to talk about. We're just going to do something sister healing, of course. But we'll decide what we're going to talk about and come back to you after this commercial break. I got it from another YouTube site, so I wanted to use it. Commercial break. Bye. Right. So, what would you like to talk about? I have a lot, but it doesn't matter. It'll come out anyways.
Yeah, I think what I was thinking about recently, so as you know, I went to California to scope it out to see if I could find a place to live, and I did. And it's been amazing to meet other Black people out there. But let me think. Let me see. I didn't meet a lot of Black women, so that
What
was like really frustrating. I was hoping that I could have some like really like
connection?
juicy conversations, connections
Mm,
in the West Coast. So that's something that I'm going to be working on is
mm,
building my tribe out there.
mm,
But for the women that I do know and who I'm really close with who are Black in my life now,
mm.
something that I was noticing was a lot of women, Black women, are struggling with relationships right now. And
Yes.
that's not to put the onus on them. It's just
Yeah.
that I feel like um
They're not being loved the way
we
that
as
we
Black,
want to.
yeah, or even that we deserve to be loved.
Deep, deep.
So I have friends who are talking to these men who they're hoping that they can be in a relationship with. And with that hope and with that idea that you can kind of like shape and mold, this individual,
Yes.
it's kind of screwing them up. I'm
Yes.
realizing that a lot of my Black female friends are struggling right now, including myself. I was,
Mm.
thinking about how I approach romantic relationships with Black men or men with color or people of color, sorry.
Yeah.
Um, and I think, yeah, I'm just curious. I wanted to talk more about like
Oh,
why we
I'm
feel like
there.
we have to
Be mothers to these men.
be mothers, educators, teachers, like therapists, like why do we have to
Get
do all this?
into it. This is
Yeah.
perfect. I like this topic. This is a good topic. This is a good. So today we are talking about the Black relationship. Yay! This is gonna
Mhm.
be epic. All right. So what is your take, right, on why you think our relationship dynamic is like
Oof.
that?
I I think there's a lot of factors into why the relationships with Black men and women are the way that they are, and even Black women to women, Black men to men, any of these relationship dynamics, platonic, familial, romantic, or whatever. I think a lot of the way that they function now is shaped by living in a white supremacist society. I believe white supremacy and anti-Black thinking is a
Mhm.
global
Yeah,
issue.
phenomenon.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really prevalent here in the States, and it's very overt here in the States.
Mm.
Everyone knows about the history of
Yes.
African enslavement and indigenous peoples being eradicated from the land and everything. But
By the way, you look really
today,
pretty. It's just,
thank
it just popped in my
you,
head. Seriously, I love that top.
thank
That is sexy.
you.
Thank you. Continue. Continue.
um, Uh, so I think when you're trying to function under the constraints of the systems that are in place now, it forces you to try to find someone else to oppress.
Mm.
So I think Black men have always, been oppressed here in society, as Black women have been. However, I think Black men, not all, but I think a lot of Black men believe that in order for them to not feel like that they are on the bottom of this kind of hierarchy of
the
of
chain, the
value,
food chain,
really.
yeah.
The food chain, they must oppress the women that are in their lives. So if you're a Black man and you're with a Black woman, I feel like a lot of the times Black men are very concerned with belittling, like not uplifting, like oppressing Black women, just so that they can feel in their life that they are, they have power.
Give me a second, boo. I need a book and a pen, because I think that we should break down the different steps in why a man wants to oppress a woman. Right? So I just wanted to write it down, and then we could visit it in steps and talk about it. So I got 4. So let me just go get a book real quick. Right.
Yeah, I'm so curious to hear
the steps.
Like the steps and how to even break this down, because we all know that this is the thing, right? But to even get into the psychology of why this is happening, and of course, patriarchy is a part of this as well. Misogynoir is like heavy on my mind lately.
Yes.
Like the specific oppression of Black women.
Yes. All right. So it goes way back but I visit slavery because this is the freshest thing that is in people's mind, right? So this is why I always take things there. But then after people take away the slavery, I go way back before slavery. So they can understand that nothing starts with slavery. But for right now, a lot of Black people think that everything starts with slavery. It started way before slavery.
Right.
Our programming has started way before they decide that they're going to kidnap people and make them slaves. Understand? So the fact that our melanatedness made us stronger to withstand certain workload, our beliefs in terms of nature being what it is, where we are one with nature. Understand? We being, I am going to say so because I believe that we being one of the only smartest persons or people on this planet. As a Black person, yes, I said that we are. Why? Because we are able to download our information. We're able to access it way more than you are because of our melanin. So yes, I have the right to say that. Okay. So with that being said, because we have such a high belief system, I think we were able to infiltrate our mind with their culture, right? Because we were living under oppressed system of the white man for, let's put it at 800, 600 years, 1,000 if the most, right? But the recent one we could think about is at least the last 600 years, before slavery, during slavery, after slavery, mental slavery, which is happening right now. And what we have been living the lifestyle of a white person's culture.
Yeah.
Right? So the culture that they have is the woman is uneducated. She knows nothing. She is just her body and provider of the house. She has nothing. They don't lead on an equal stream as Black people in the Egyptian time used to be. Back in the Egyptian time, the man and the woman used to lead as equal. There was no up and above. The man knew his role. The woman knew her role. She is more spiritually inclined, and she is able to connect to the universe through who she is, right? And he is able to assist that in the physical sense if need be. But they knew the role to play when those roles need to play. If they didn't need to play the roles, there was no need to play the roles, right? So in the white person's system, he wanted to do everything. She couldn't do anything. And they're more believe in the terms of physical abuse. And this is where you get, if you don't listen to me, I'm gonna whoop your ass type of mentality, right? So imagine you during slavery coming up, seeing what a man, because remember, we were told we're not human, right? We are nothing. So
animals,
you grew up seeing your slave master treating his woman a certain way, And over the years, this is what you've been taught to treat as a woman. She is no more than just her body, no more than sex. The woman see that dynamic as well. So I am no more than anything. I've been raped. I've been have so many children by so many people. I'm not educated. They're not looking out for me more than the man. The man is stronger. He is who they're taking to the field. To breathe, I must breathe with a certain stallion. So I must be lined up with a certain being. You were brought up to think that you were nothing but just that. Right?
Mm.
And then when you got out of slavery now, you decide to go into a relationship with a broken woman, a relationship with a broken man. Whether it is that he see his wife got raped, his daughter have raped, he couldn't get a bond with his children, right? And the mother of herself. Plus, back in the day, they used to put mother and son to sleep together.
What?
Yes, they used to put. Yes. So this is where you get that mother fucker from mother. Yeah, so they used to that, and this is all a plot to break down the black dynamic, by the way.
Right.
So they used to make the mother and the son sleep together, and this is what broke some of the dynamic between the mother and the son, right? So over the years of having that continuously happen during the course of slavery, mentally, it's like you're sitting on watching TV every day for the last 10 years. This is what you're going to live, right? And they were in it for 400 and something years. This is what they're going to live, right? So when you come out of that factor, you come out broken. Both genders came out broken to live. Understand? We're coming back in the freshened days now. I just bring that to get that, you know, that mentally we weren't healed. Mentally we weren't told like, yo, you being raped is actually a crime right now. And that can actually make you feel at the lowest of your low, especially for a female.
Right. It's just trauma after trauma for both Black men and women, like, you know, after the effect of, you know, the slave trade, you know.
Yeah, and adding to you too, men were also raped, especially in Jamaica. The men were also raped as well.
That's where that term like "nuck if you buck" comes from, right? They're the oppressors were basically, it was like a game to them where the men they would have to try and tame the most strongest or, you know, aggressive Black man that they owned. And that's like, and it was called bucking, I think. I learned about that recently and it broke my heart. Like,
so if you watch the dynamic in Jamaica mostly, because Jamaican men really don't like gay people, period. Right. And when you study their history, it's because of that butt-breaking thing that they've done. So all of that, you come out of slavery with all that shame in your body. You know, they're raping a man in front of his tribe, the people who believe him to lead them, right? And you decide to demasculate that man in front of his people. Come on now. That's a lot. That's fair. That's fair right there. So coming into our broken days. And our days, remember, our men are not living our true relationship structure that we had way before slavery. We're living the white man structure. Understand? The white man broken structure, because when you look at their relationship, they're pretty now respectful to their females. She runs the house.
I don't know. You mean so in the construct of like whiteness?
Yes.
So this is also something that I've been observing, because in order to like observe yourself and your culture, I think it's helpful to see what's happening around in other cultures as well. And because we have been placed in this white supremacist kind of like white gaze of life, it's easier for us to observe what's happening in those white relationships than it is for them to understand what's happening in ours. So I was really thinking about this. I don't know if you saw on Saturday Night Live this past week, there's a comedian, a white comedian named Bill Burr, who did the opening monologue. Married to a Black woman. And so his whole thing is like, I know about oppression. I know about your plight because I'm married to one. It's like, well, honestly, you're sleeping with a Black woman. That's like,
you don't feel her pain.
You don't feel her pain. You've not tried to understand. Like, you know, you're making jokes about all of these people misogynistic, you know, traits that white men have. Like, white men is the problem. And so through his monologue, when he was talking about how he was
White
saying
women.
yeah, like just shut up and sit down and like
Yeah.
this and this and this.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that even in whiteness, like I don't believe that white men really respect anybody in their relationships. I think white men have this mentality that they need to be at the top, are the shit, when in fact they are
not
irrelevant. Yeah.
Yes, they are.
And so this carries on. And so you see that where white women are being oppressed. And I think when white women and Black men get together, I think that this also creates this dynamic of the Black man being like, oh, I've made it because now I'm with this white woman.
The forbidden fruit.
The forbidden fruit. And I tend to feel like Black men treat white women better than they do us, when they're in a relationship with us. So as far as like the whiteness and like I still see very misogynistic just disrespect in like white relationships as well, as far as like white men and women. And then that trickles down to like white women disrespecting Black women because they want someone else to be underneath them because they're already underneath the men in their lives. So, and
this is where that sisterhood issue comes into play, but not really sisterhood, the woman fighting against woman. Because check it, during slavery too, you as a white woman, right, you own the plantation with your man, and then your man preferred to sleep with a slave more than you. What is that gonna do? Huh? I think most of the abuse in slavery comes from a white woman and her anger and her jealousy in terms of seeing her man going out there and sleeping with the help. You know what I mean? So that's going to build up some animosity towards an innocent being, by the way, who didn't want this to happen. But because she don't have anyone else to take out her anger on or anyone else to blame because she don't have a voice, right? She takes it out on the woman. So you will find that a lot of women would lie and say, oh, this person did this to me, that person did this to me. And this is where you get the Karen syndrome from this bullshit. For years and years of you lying on people, it becomes a second nature to you to say, hey, it wasn't the white person's fault, it's the Black person's fault. You see that they blame us for everything. Understand? And then the fact that we can't keep a man is ploy for you to say, hey, I steal your man too. And this is where you get back the revenge plot where you stole our men during slavery, we steal your men during now. Right? So I feel it's like a woman's war against each other that we are so unaware of. And this is where the woman dynamic, because when we still don't be realistic about it, let's be realistic. And I know a lot of men
call it out.
When a lot of men are not gonna like what I'm about to say, but when you really sit down about it and sit down and think about it, behind all of this bullshit is a woman. She is who's gonna say, if you don't do this, you're not gonna get nothing. The home isn't gonna be happy. This is not gonna go how I want. If it's not going how I want it to go, then shit isn't gonna go. Right? So when you sit down and think about it, it is a woman that push more. A man will get up and execute the orders if he's not of his own mindset. By the end of the day, he was bred. A man was bred to please a woman. A lot of our women knows this, and this is why we use that against our men, and that is sad. It is sad. Stop it. But we know our power over our men. If they don't know our power and their power, we know that. So at the end of the day, when you go into a relationship with a woman, whether it should be the opposite race or not, you're automatically going to be in her culture because you want to please her. You're in love with her. So whatever she says goes. So this is where I feel like this is why women now it's different than that. But y'all ain't ready for that. So we can talk about that another time. But this is where I get the dynamic between the women fighting. It is from something stemming from jealousy. It is sad, but it's from jealousy.
And it's misdirected jealousy as well. You know, this is the thing. How can you be jealous of someone whose body is being oppressed and abused and used by others? You know what I mean? How can you fault someone who is being victimized, and used?
It's faceless.
And I think it's interesting going back what you said men were bred to please women.
Yeah.
I want you to kind of flesh that out a little bit, because I don't know if I agree, but I want to understand.
Well, in natural nature, in the nature of birth, let's go from there. When a daughter is born, she automatically goes to the male energy, which is her father, right? And however she sees her father, or whoever is her father, so she grew up seeing her father abusing women, not treating women well. This is the dynamic. She's going to think, hey, maybe that's how I'm supposed to accept being treated, right? Because that's my father, right? A father can be a bad example and a good example. He can change when a daughter is born, because this is his baby girl and he needs to be the best man. So she grew up seeing the best father. So when she go into a relationship, if you're not up to standard with how her good father was, you can't be in my life. It goes both ways. Same thing with a son. If I grew up and I see my mother accepting certain views and certain things, I believe this is the way that I'm supposed to treat a woman, or a woman should accept certain things from me. And when a boy or a man go in a relationship, you could test it too. I've seen this for years. When you go into a relationship, depending on how soft-hearted you are, most of the time a woman can break a man, right? Most of the time when you go back in a man's history to know why he's such a womanizer, or why he's so egotistical, all of those things, it mostly starts with his mom, and then it starts with the woman that he first fell in love with after his mom, right? That created a dynamic of, I'm going to hate women from here because y'all in shit type of dynamic, right? So this is what I mean. A man is naturally, they weren't taught this, but they are naturally bred to please a woman. We are naturally bred to be leaders, but together. Our energy, especially in a Black woman, if you realize that we talk about us being passionate, and this is why our men run from us and go to a weaker sex, because they're not able to come into the alpha female version of us. So they, exactly. So they go into a woman who is weaker, aka another race, which is white most of the time. It's true. Yeah. And you see that in the relationship, he has the power. She don't really say much, and he is able to do what he got to do. But in a relationship where with a Black woman, we are forcing you to grow up where you don't want to grow up. A white woman, she ain't about that. She fascinated with your skin and your height and your big length or whatever the case is. She already got what she got because her family got money. She could do what she needs to do, right? But us now, we don't have that dynamic. We never grew up having multiple lands, a good school, you know what I mean? Great food, good example of relationship, and everything inside of the world. We were brought up to be the heavy lifters of the house. We want to mate to help ease our burden instead of adding to our burden. And because the way that his mom may have raised him, because again, a majority of the raising the child burden in his home is always single parent homes. So the way that his mom must most likely raise him, she raised him to not do a lot. Don't carry the garbage, you can play games, blah, blah, blah. So when he grows up, you as a woman expect him to do the things a man is supposed to do, and he isn't. That disappoints you. You start a nag before he sit down and think, you know what, this woman is right. I haven't grown up, I'm still a boy. He's like, man, you always think about small things, I can do it later, blah, blah, blah. And then the relationship's broken up before you see the essence of what this woman is doing. What she is doing is trying to push you towards your growth, to your potential. But you see her as a person that is pulling you down, pulling down your weakness. It hurts your ego. And then you decide to leave her to somebody who isn't going to hurt your ego. It is cowardice. You're being a coward.
Yeah, this is like hitting so close to home. Like I've legit had men, both Black, white, Latino, like, you know, any people that I've dated, it seems like they're really interested in how passionate I am about stuff, how outspoken I am. And then when that passion and that fire and fight for justice and equality and righteousness gets directed at them because they're fucking up, you know, they are like, oh yeah, you're nagging, oh this is too much, why can't you just let me be, oh blah blah blah. And you know, then they end up breaking up with you and legitimately get with white. A lot of my exes have gotten with white women and are now engaged and are now promising themselves to them in ways that they would never have done with me.
Is you are attracted to easy. You're not attracted to work. You're not attracted to healing a broken woman. And the thing is that men don't realize that your broken woman didn't break herself. This is
Right.
years and years of oppressive breakage.
Say it
Understand?
again. Oh my gosh.
So at the end of the day, when you decide to meet a woman and see her baggage, before you say, yo, I'm gonna help you heal your baggage, because I realize that your baggage is not even yours, and it's something that I realize nobody haven't helped you with. Our men don't know to do that. They were not taught how to be healers. They were not taught how to
Right.
be how to put together things back together, right? So they were taught to have things to happen to them easily. When you really sit down and watch the dynamic between the woman and the man, yes, we know that our men have it harder, but when you really sit down and look at it, the woman is the person that have it harder. We are the one that's carrying the load. We're the one that have to sit down and always think of plan B, C's, and Z's at the same time while you are there waiting for us to say, hey, do this, instead of you being the person that's going to be like, you know what, today I'm going to get up and I'm going to do this for her because I know this is the routine that she has. You're not being considerate to your female. You are letting her take the lead, but then when you give her the lead and she becomes masculine in leading, you have a attitude with that because you were the one that pushed her in a position to be masculine in the first place. If you
Right.
were if you took up your duties, she has no reason to become masculine. She could come back into her feminine ability, but you didn't. She had no choice but to take up your responsibilities. Understand?
And it's kind of like, would you argue that behavior from Black women in society and in the past was, and maybe Black men as well, was largely wrapped around survival?
Yes,
like
girl.
I will do this in order to survive and get to that next day, next hour, next week, next month, next whatever, because of the oppressive forces that we're under. Even now, I think Black women, when it comes to our relationships with men, I feel like maybe it's not necessarily survival, but it's that same energy of I must put up with this man. I must put up with whatever, because otherwise, like, who will take care of me, who will provide for me, who will show me the attention I deserve, because it's not happening in society, it's not happening in the media, it's not happening, it's just not happening. So I think a lot of women, when they find a connection or they get any kind of romantic attention from a man, I feel like this is like the survival mode of like, I have to hold on to this. I have to, deal with whatever, endure. I have to endure and like be this martyr. When I would like to get to a point where every Black woman realizes you don't have to deal with that. And in fact, you should not be dealing with that.
I agree with you, but check it. You mentioned earlier that most of the people that you know, or exes, or even friends that you've known that break up from a Black woman, they end up going with a white woman. Understand that this white woman grew up with both parents. Understand that she grew up with the systematic way of how to be a submissive woman. Understand? So she were able to learn how to treat a man, how to cater to his needs, all of those different things. She wasn't really brought up to be the survival, passionate Black woman. She was brought up to be the submissive white woman, right? And a man love a woman to be submissive. Understand? So we, on the other hand, was not put in the same lane to have the same, but not values, the same. God damn it.
Like
the same upbringing, but it's a different word. The same upbringing as the white woman. We had to survive. They just lived, right? So she don't really have much of a baggage. She may have some baggage, but she doesn't have much of a baggage. So when they go in a relationship, she's all, oh honey, I'm gonna cook for you 3 times a day, and this is what we're going to do, because she is able to have a better job than the Black woman have. She's going to get the first promotion. She's going to get the raise first. She's going to have her children, and they're going to have a nice school system so they can grow up in a nice neighborhood. Nobody ain't being racist to her. Everything is going well. So she can afford to have a leisure time. She has family who's going to give her money to buy a home, to do these things. She's going to have all of that, the things that you want, the easy life that she's going to be able to inherit from her being white, her whiteness. is an automatic thing. I know a lot of you guys are in denial about this whiteness thing, but you are. The moment your color is white, you automatically have privilege. You automatically have an easier life. Yes, you may have to work hard, but it is not as hard as a black person, a man or a woman or a child. Understand? So for a black woman now, she grew up in a single parent home. Her mother ain't shit. Her father ain't shit. Her mother is the shit, or her father is not the shit, right? And then she got like 3 other siblings that she got to take care of. She may have to finish school to work to support for the home. She don't have 3 meals a day. She may have to use her body, survival mode. She may even have a kid at a young age. She may get molested because the black body apparently is attracted to being molested and raped. So at the end of the day, she has all of those baggage to go through. She got raped. She may tell a family member. Most of the time, it's family members, raping family members. Oh, they don't believe her. Then she got to go with that thing where, oh my gosh, nobody don't believe what I say. She got some sort of hatred in her heart. She see men as just not the means to an end. And when she do meet a guy that is good, he's good to her, he treats her good, she's afraid. Because she's accustomed to men showing that persona where, hey, I'm the best guy in the world. 6 months later, he's a douche. She's going to be afraid. She's not able to open up to you. But before you continue being the man that she would want you to be, continue showing her that persona, really break that shell down and see why that shell is up and really nurture that woman so she can blossom in this most beautiful petal that you want, that you've seen and need. You don't have the patience for that. And you break up with the woman.
Yep. And I think that's.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, like, you talked about this fear that Black women have with relationships, and like, I don't know, for some reason that just like set off like a gong in me when you said that, because I want my romantic life to be healthy, and I want to start meeting new people, and so I've resorted to like online dating on like these vegan dating apps or whatever, but I mean, I've met a couple of people through those, and I have to say that one of the biggest feelings that was in me, it wasn't excitement. It wasn't like, oh, this could be the one. It was like fear. It was fear of, okay, I know how I feel about things that are happening in the world. I know how I feel about how things I think should be, could be, but I'm afraid to voice. I'm afraid to really open up about how I feel about this stuff, like patriarchy, politics, love, life, any of this stuff, responsibilities of people in a relationship. And I feel like I'm not the only one, like having Black women be biting their tongue because they're afraid of being left, being cheated on, being whatever, I think that also contributes to this, dynamic where we feel like we are not empowered. We feel like we have no choice but to protect ourselves, protect our heart, like skirt around issues, not be direct and things like that. So yeah, fear in relationships is something that I think.
Yeah, because when you study it, like, just tell me if I'm wrong or not. A woman, she loves hard, right? And we love with body and soul, right? And to have the upbringing, we're speaking from a Black person's perspective. Let's be realistic. When you sit down and watch a Black relationship, the Black parenting, it is not healthy. It's truly not healthy for us. And then you grow up with whatever parenting. All of us have the same type of parenting in common. If we really sit down and study it, most of us have the same parenting. A loud mom, she take disrespect most of the time. She beats the shit out of you. The dad have a minimal job, but he always falls straight into the world. He beats the shit out of you. Sometimes he beats mom. Sometimes he doesn't beat mom, but he smokes. He comes home late. Most likely he cheats on her. You know what I mean? He doesn't know how to treat it. He doesn't know how to be a father. Sometimes he does know how to be a father, right? So we don't really have a balance. Like 8% of our parenting is broken family homes, fathers not being there, fathers being in jail, fathers not having full-time jobs, mom always working, mom always thinking about providing, mom and dad always worrying about something. That's like 80% of a Black relationship. The 10% is maybe the rich people, right? The rich Black people, right? But they themselves still have issues. The issue where, oh, you grew up rich, so you think you all of that, and then all of that dynamic come down. But still, it is still a judgmental society. Whether you're a poor black woman, black person, or a rich black person, you're still gonna be judged because you're black.
You are black. Yeah, that's gonna be what everyone sees. Yeah.
Exactly. So at the end of the day, we as a people are always going to have that fear. And because we as black women and men have never really saw what a healthy relationship looks like, a woman is going to have fear because he's going to come into the relationship. He doesn't know how to be a man. I have to teach him how to be a man. And because I tell him to do this, I know he's going to react that way. So what do? I love him. Should I tell him or should I not tell him? Because I think I'm going to lose him. But then me losing him means I may or may not get back this same type of personality because our men ain't shit. Not literally. I'm just saying this might be her thinking.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So she's afraid to lose what little bit of greatness that you have because she's thinking there are not a lot of prospect of men out there. Understand?
Or there's not someone who will love me. I think a lot of black women feel like it's not even about finding a partner. I think I feel like I am not lovable because of history, the society we live in now, what's being broadcasted in the media and stuff like that. All you see is women being stomped on. And so to have this feeling of I am not lovable, even if that's not what you're telling yourself, even if you're telling yourself and affirming that you are amazing, powerful, you're a goddess, you're a queen, but you still hold on to this piece of the white society that we're living in that is you are not lovable and that you deserve to be treated in this way. So I think many women were carrying this around, even if we don't think we are, even if we feel like we're very confident in this and that, when you even have a nugget of that thought process, it's going to affect your self-esteem and it's going to allow situations to happen where you are not able to speak up for yourself and be the protector that you should have from the other people around you, you know?
I agree with you. So
then it's like, like for me, it's like, how do we
go from there?
These
for me, because I think the fear of the fact that we are afraid to be ourselves is so pathetic that we have to take on a persona to be able to have something common with people or to be able to level with people. For example, we had a conversation where you saying that you want to just have friends who you're on the same level with, but because you don't have that, you sometimes have to bring yourself back down. It's the same thing to do with relationship as well. You go in a relationship with a guy, he look good, whatever, and then you see that shit, I gotta reel myself in so we can be able to be compatible in his eyes instead of he, doing the same thing as me.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what happens with our men? You're entitled. Okay? You're completely entitled and selfish. Selfish to the part that you don't realize that you are making your female seems that she cannot be herself because society has deemed her to be loud and ghetto, when in fact she isn't any of that sort. But because she needs to protect herself, she needs to raise her voice. I said that in the other video as well. So in order for we to really have a common ground, our men need to stop being afraid and really admit to themselves that I'm being a coward because I feel like I can't live up to this woman's standard. Understand? We as women need to realize, break the negative programming in ourselves. We are passionate, but what are you passionate about? Is you're passionate about, I want to control that man and get some money from him, and if he don't do what I gotta do, he got left from about here, or if he ain't giving me the money that I want, I'm gonna go sleep with other people. If that's the passion that you have, boo, you need to heal. But if your passion is about togetherness of everyone around you, your passion is about healing all of the generational programming, you know what I mean? Your passion is about being your true self. Understand? Passion is about having conversation like she and I are having here. Your passion is not about sitting down and talking down about your man, your friends, your everything. Your passion is not those things, but your passion is about saying, hey, I don't like you talking about my black man that way. My black man may have issues, but at the end of the day, these are the reasons why he may have issues. Why don't you, instead of attacking your man, say, hey, hun, blah, 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 blah. Those are the things that we need to start working on. We need to be accountable for the behaviors that we have. So this is where I feel healing of self comes into play. And then when you heal yourself, you're able to say, hey, I don't want to be with him. He don't have the qualities that I see. Then you pick and you choose from your little flock of men. Understand? Yeah. Because that is where the issue comes in. We don't heal ourselves, and then we go choose any old Joe, and then any old Joe come in our lives, and we're like, oh, Joe have nice feet. I'm gonna stay with Joe. All right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So at the end of the day, we have to heal ourselves first, work on ourselves first, then we will be able to choose the mates that we want, whether it be male or female, and go from there. But if you do not heal yourself, you're going to always have broken relationships. And that's the honest truth.
So with this concept of healing, and like I feel the same way, I think when we talk about healing and wellness and mending and empowerment and growth, we can kind of get caught up in these general words and not have an idea of what that even means. So from your experience and, you know, looking at Black women and how we are in relationships, what are tangible ways that you think that we can approach healing? What do you mean when you say, like, we must heal first? Like, what does that look like?
Healing. Look at the way, first of all, look at your example of a female or a man. Most likely female always emulates other females, right? Look at the female that you're emulating. What is she emulating? For example, girls emulate Cardi B. Cardi B is a rapper. What is she rapping about? Is she trying to uplift the community? Or is she trying to make you twerk your ass? Understand? What is she trying to do there? She's in a relationship with Offset. They're on and on again. Is that healthy? Offset cheated on her. Is that healthy? She has a kid. Is that healthy for the kid? Is that something you want to emulate? You know what I mean? Check that. When you've checked that off and be like, nope, not Cardi B. Understand? Then look at your mom, right? Then look at your life. Are you living similar lives to your mom? Is she the influence in the way that you're living? Is she the influence in the way that you're loud, right? The influence in the way that you may be disconnected, right? Then look at the reason that you yourself are so closed off. Have you healed from that? Have you talked to somebody about it? You know what I mean? Why are you so closed off? Why are you in survival mode? That is the issue. Why did you go into survival mode? Where did that come from? Unshed, why are you in survival mode? Heal from that, right? Your healing consists of breaking down who you are, which means you disconnect from the friends, because your friends you attract from whatever influence you may have in the day. So when you disconnect from your friends, disconnect from your relationship, disconnect from the world, disconnect from the television programs that you accustomed to. So if you're watching Real Housewives, whatever, you're watching Mauricio, you're watching Wendy Williams, those are not healthy shows for your healing, honey. Those are not healthy, right? So you disconnect from all of those things. Read. Just read some books. Meditate. Meditation is such I need to force you to see who you are, and I also know you're going to heal during the process thing to do. Right? So I encourage meditation, because meditation is quiet your mind, and then you're going to see your negative self-talk to yourself. You are your worst enemy. It is not your mama. It is not the person who made you, who hurt you. It is not that man that hurt you. It is no one but yourself. Because at the end of the day, what you accept people saying to you is what you're going to continue to say to yourself.
Yes.
So break yourself down. See what you say to yourself every day. Look at yourself in the mirror every day. And if your first thought is, ooh, why your tummy so big? Ooh, look at that pimple.
Yeah.
Okay. So if your first thought is when you go in the mirror talking about, oh gosh, girl, you pretty. You look so fly today. Oh gosh, that hair on point, baby. You know what I mean? You are on your way to healing.
Yes.
And there we go. So when you have finished unpack everybody else's opinion, judgments, how you should dress, how you should talk, how you should do that, and you get rid of it, who are you? Who are you? Get rid of it all. And then go and ask yourself, who am I? What do I like?
Yes.
What do I like to eat? How late I want to stay up? Why do I want to stay up so late? Why am I watching Wendy? Am I messed that I'm watching Wendy Williams?
I think that's this idea of turning, like having an internal conversation, getting into meditation, self-affirmations, like so important, so crucial. And I would also add on top of that, like therapy. So since the pandemic, I started seeing a Black female therapist on virtually video chatting, and and the reason why was because I got to the point where I realized that I needed more healing and understanding of self. I needed to strip away some of the things that had happened in my life and just see, like, who am I now because of those things, and like what can I do in the future to have the tools to set boundaries, so that, I mean, because pain is inevitable. You can only control what you do. So people will treat you whatever way, but you can have the boundaries so that you are not accepting this treatment. And so for me, I would definitely, I'm always shouting out, everyone find a therapist if you can. If your insurance covers it, there's resources for, if you Google, there's resources that maybe you could find someone that you can afford if you don't have insurance. But it's crucial, I think, especially for Black women. And in the Black community, we don't seek therapy. We don't seek this outside help. And for me, I feel like this has been a big part of my own healing, along with the meditation, along with the unpacking, and along with, other health and wellness. But you make great points.
No, I agree with her completely. Therapy is good because you're able to talk. Because if you realize that what our Black women do not have is a non-judgmental zone to express. We don't have that because we always feel like somebody's going to judge us. So we are not able to talk or speak our mind and say, hey, I dislike this girl, or hey, I really dislike myself today, or hey, something, without somebody saying, but seriously, what's wrong with you? You have the best life, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? To make you feel a certain way. We do not have that expressive, non-judgmental circle without. So that is the thing. So talking, having a conversation is good. Therapy don't judge you. Therapy heal you. So that's why I feel a lot of people like therapy, right? But if you can't afford therapy, these are the people who heal me, right? And then I start to meditate or whatever. Ianya Van Zandt, she is the shit. Understand? That woman breaks it down to a T. She's all about the Black race, and I love her. Ianya Van Zandt is the shit, right? There are other books out there that you can read that gives you self-help. I will post a few of them there. But there are so many that I've read. Mastery of Self, Mastery of Love, The Alchemist. These are the few books. And I just read one earlier. The Superior Man, of the Way of the Superior Man. Men, that is really good. And women too. It is really good for you. That book is the shit. Understand? So those are the things. She is correct. Talking to someone, hearing what you're saying while talking to a person helps you. Just them and expressing yourself and not feel like, oh my gosh, they're going to judge me. Just express is important. But one of the things that I want to name for your healing process is let's talk about allow, right? Let's talk about that word, allow, and what it does for our lives, right? The first thing you should ask yourself is, why do I allow somebody to speak to me that way? Why do I allow myself to feel this way? Why do I allow that person's opinion of me to make me feel the way that I'm feeling? Why do I allow myself to hurt? Right? Because what that word means is you need to take accountability for the things that you allow people to do to you. Understand?
Right.
So visit the word allow and then look at it to what you allow happen to you. Why did you just get vexed? Or why did you allow yourself to get vexed at me stating something? That's what you should ask yourself, that question. We don't ask ourselves that. Why is it my black woman telling me, hun, why is you do not do more work around the house? Why did I allow that to make me feel mad? Answer that yourself. And then see if it is your ego or is something that you realize, like, shit, she calling out my weakness. And because she calling out my weakness, instead of me saying, babe, you're right, I should actually get up and do more around the house instead of saying, why you always nagging? Why you always looking for something for me to do when I'm sitting down?
The gaslighting. The gaslighting. Yeah. And being emotionally dishonest. Yeah. I think a lot of men will deflect and push back to you. And we as women must not allow ourselves to accept that. It's like, no, I'm talking to you about this problem. We are going to resolve it. You're going to hear me. And if you don't hear me and act accordingly, then, and if we can't come together and come to a resolution, then, you know, I can't allow you to have access to me anymore, you know?
Yes. I love it. You see that? You can't allow it. So then when you have done going through the allows in your life, and then go through after your allows, what is your boundaries? How far are you going to let this go? How far are you going to allow these things to happen? Boundaries. You see how that works? So you have boundaries. Am I going to allow you to cross over this boundary continuously? Why? Do I not love myself to allow you to cross over this boundary continuously? Those are your healing methods. And what after boundaries, what I want you to understand is, are you being honest about your allows and your boundaries? Because us women tend to gaslight ourselves as well. Because we don't want to admit that sometimes things that we want and need are from selfish reasons. And if it don't happen because of the way we want it, well, to hell with you. Are you being considerate of your partners for your wants and your needs? Those are your questions. So when you're healing for you and for some other being. Whether the being is a mate that you think is on your level to be a mate with, or the being is for your children, right? If it's not for your children, it is for your little friend that you have that is looking up to you, and you have to be responsible with your actions to say, hey girl, I know I'm your friend, but I know that I still have a little bit of influence in you. I can direct myself accordingly so you know how to be. We as a Black community have to start taking responsibilities for our actions and the way that we do things, because we do not have a lot of people that we look up to, right? So for now, we have to take responsibility to be that person to another person of growth. For example, I'm of growth through my sisters, to some of my friends around me. Sometimes I want to not be me, right? But I'm like, that is not the time, because you still have people who are learning from you. So you can't slack off, right? It is a burden, but at the end of the day, if you know in your true nature that this is my life and this is it, it wouldn't be a burden. And if that's you being honest with yourself, if it's a burden to you for being an example to another person, then you're pretending, and that's not the task for you, because that energy is not real, and you're faking it, and that fake energy is going to go on to another person.
Absolutely. I love what you said about like the accountability and like being a role model as well, and just being an example, really. I was talking, this conversation like really resonates because I was talking to a friend who's in Brooklyn in New York, and she was saying how, you know, she's so heartbroken and this and that over this man who has shown her time and time again that he does not want to commit to her, does not respect her, does not value her as a woman.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And so, you know, she's sitting here being like, well, maybe if I stay around, he'll one day wake up and choose me and see my value. And what you said about, being that example, I don't know if she had examples of healthy relationships around her. And so here I am as a Black woman, her friend, she's Black as well, like trying to be her friend, trying to like guide her, because I have experienced stuff like this, and I have come through the other side and have elevated myself to, I think, a higher vibration after those relationships. And so I'm trying to tell her, like, you need boundaries. Like, where are your boundaries? I'm like, the way I see it, girl, like, you are choosing this treatment, you are choosing this pain. And that was hard for her to hear. Her first reaction was like, no, I'm not choosing it. I'm not choosing to love him. And I'm like, I didn't say you were choosing to love him. I don't think love is a choice. I think that feeling comes, when you connect with someone and you can't help who you love, but you are choosing to go back to this volatile relationship. You can still love someone and not fuck around with them. You can still love them and love them from afar. So I do think that a lot of Black women are in fact choosing the pain, choosing these toxic relationships. And it's hard to say, and it's hard to hear, and it's hard to realize that I have been one of those women who was choosing to be in those situations. But that's part of accountability and growth. You have to acknowledge it, call it out, and adjust accordingly, once you realize these things. So
yeah, I agree with you, because what she is doing is wanting someone to value her, but what she's forgetting is she doesn't value herself. So at the end of the day, you are the person that teach people to love you. So if you are not valuing yourself, how do you expect this man to value you? He don't know how to, because you haven't taught him how to do. You gotta teach the man how to value you. And when you've done that, then he'll be like, oh snap, I don't think I could be up to her standard of value. I'm a bounce. Yo, she got me working for this shit, and I'm liking this. Let's do this. You know what I mean? there are men out there that works for their woman. Once you've seen that she is grounded, he is gonna work for her. But if she is grounded and he's not working for you, boo, he about you because he's too much work, and that is a good thing. That means you don't need to go ahead with a partner that does not value you. Understand? At the end of the day, and I love what you said earlier in terms of her not having the example of how to be someone, right? And that is where I come to my realization years ago. I was in a relationship. This eye, a lot of people make fun out of me for this eye. It is smaller than this one, right? I got punched in this one in a relationship that I was in, right? And I can see properly out of it, but once I cover it, it's blurry. It's getting better because I'm eating healthy, but I can see a little better from that. So that's fantastic. But I brought that up to say this. I stayed with that guy for 1.5 years. He nearly killed me, by the way. He nearly ran me over with his car. Understand? Not his car, he had a truck. I nearly died. Understand? Now, I stayed with him for 1.5 years. And when I sat back a few years after that, and I'm like, honey, why do you think you deserve that? And then when I sat back and I watched it myself, because I grew up with my mom, sorry for putting your stuff out there, but it has to be. I grew up with my mom and my father. My father used to beat the shit out of my mother. Jesus. And I'm like, this is where you thought that being hit from another man is a thing, right? And then I had to outgrow that shit. So when I went in my other relationship, he thought he could have hit me. It wasn't going to go down. I was going to stab him, right? And from there, I was like, okay, this is a dynamic. This is a dynamic. And I had to sit my backside down. And I'm like, yo, why is 2 relationships in a row? You think men like hitting on you. What is it about you, right? And then I sit back myself and said, why is that you attracting this? And I sat back and I'm like, yo, girl, these men were legit, not baiting you, it's not the word I'm looking for, but they were actually evaluating. Boom! Yeah. Thanks, honey. That is the word. They were grooming me to see how far they can take it. And my ass was there at home being this girl where, you cook and you clean. I ain't gotten a job. So with that, now they have a head over me. And because I know this, I allowed them to talk to me this way, to do this thing to me. And then I had a voice. I couldn't speak up because I was afraid, hey, if I do say, I don't want nowhere to live, blah, 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 survival mode. Understand? So then I was like, nah, I'm gonna get a job. I got a
Yes.
job.
Financial independence. Okay, great.
Boom. I got myself a job, and that's when all hell broke loose. Oh, you working now, so you think you could come home and say this to me and blah 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 blah. I was like, yo, I actually working to help us. So why is that my job intimidates you? Why? Because he had no control over me anymore. I could have very well up and leave and go find my own apartment. That's exactly what I did. I moved out. And from since then, I depend on a job, depend on being independent. And during the course of that, I was like entitled. I made myself entitled. I wanted certain things. And if you can't afford to give it to me, I am about you. Simple. That is how it got there. I am not going to allow you to do things for me because I can do the things myself. You see how that dynamic shift? I lived 3 sets of women in my lifetime of 28 years old. Understand? 3 sets of women. The broken woman, then the woman that's independent, that but like I'm all the shit and you can't come and say nothing because I can pay my own bills. How many working women does that? A lot of you guys, right? Exactly. And then you're so independent, you take care of yourself, but then you're still single. Why? Why you think that is the issue? Because you get conceited.
Well, do you think it's that, or do you think that men feel intimidated and feel like, oh, well, she's got her shit taken care of, actually, so let me find someone, do the grooming. Let me find someone who needs me. I want to feel needed. I need to feel needed. I need to feel like I'm the head of this household and she's got her stuff together. So let me find the weaker link.
You know, that is a problem. If your man come into your life and be like, hey, I know that you have it done. You could pay the rent. You could pay the bills. You could buy your shit that you need. All of those things. Is that all that a man's supposed to do for his woman? You were taught that if you don't take care of a woman by buying her clothes, buying her food, paying her rent, whatever the case is, that she don't need you. That's stupid. A woman
right,
needs...
and this is like so ridiculous because it's like we need more than just like these material things, right? Like everyone needs love, connection, understanding, community, a tribe, like someone who has your back. And so I think when men feel like they can't get that from a woman because she's got her own stuff going on or whatever, they like translate that to people who have material things.
It's set for life.
Yeah.
Honey, that is wrong. I talking to the men now. That is so wrong. A woman being materialistically set is her survival mode. A woman who will grow up poor and determined to never be poor in her life again is survival mode. What you need to do is teach her in an emotional way how to unwind. Understand? You need to make love to this woman's brain and let her realize, like, yo, I know that you got you. I know that you could pay this rent, but I know you don't got you emotionally. I'ma love you because you need loving. So you love her in the mind and you love her in the body. So by the time you're done with her, she can trust the shit out of you. She can trust her emotions so you can carry her emotion, because that's what us women do. We allow our men, we allow our men to carry our emotions. So when she allow you to carry her emotions, you good. You could offer to be like, when you carry that emotion, then you could get in there like, honey, tonight I am taking you out to dinner and I am paying. She's gonna allow you to pay. Understand?
Allow, exactly. Mm-hmm.
Boom. So at the end of the day, when a man comes to you and he's like, yo, I can't be with you because you said, that man doesn't know how to love. Because he think him loving you is by him taking care of you materialistically. He can never love you, honey. And that's simple. If a man comes to you and say, you got it, and I can't love you, leave him. Let him go. He doesn't know how to love you. So when you're
and I think that's the thing. A lot of men do not know how to love in this healthy way. And so, and, you know, for all the reasons that we talked about before, you know, nature versus nurture, exposure to whatever, past experience, lack of intentional healing. So we're inviting these people in who don't know how to love us, and we are trying to express the way that we desire, that we want to be loved, but with someone who doesn't have the tools and the equipment to be on that level and to love in that way. It's like you can't, it doesn't matter how much you talk to them, it doesn't matter how much you you know, kick up a fuss, you know, about whatever, plead, beg, do, you know, you could be the best woman you could be, partner to him or whatever, and it won't change because he has not done the work. So there's this level of accountability of healing, understanding, and learning how to love, learning what your love language is as a man. How do I feel best seen and heard and valued and loved? Like what does that look like to me as a man? How can I show my true inner heart and devotion to someone in a way that it can be received, and in a way that is not harmful, and in a way that will bring us closer together. So yeah,
girl, that is it. Because I feel that is where it comes down to play, where our men were taught that a woman is a materialistic being. She wants a fancy car, and hell, the rappers and Cardi B are making it different. They made it that way. So when a man comes into our lives, he thinks taking care of us is what we just talked about earlier. I'm not going to list it. You know what I'm talking about. And the fact that we got that shit handled, right? Then you think, oh, snap, well, she don't need me. I'm going to go look for another one. But no, we don't need you and your money. We need you to carry our hearts in one piece and keep it there, which means you take care of this delicate emotion that we've given to you, right? By making sure it's completely love, making sure that she is secure in your love, making sure that she is secure just being around you, making sure that she feels love. She feels like she is the only shit in your life, big man. That is what she wants to feel, right? So we need to give you our heart, and you could go down the road, see the sexiest being in the world, talk about, nah, you can't be my queen. My queen is my queen. Understand? That is what we want from you. We want to give you your emotions. I know, God, we don't need to check your phone. We don't need to say, well, doubt where you were. We know to come home, right, from our work, and you come home from your work too. Come home in the house and you cook. That give you some heads and 2 weeks of continuous sex 3 times a day. I'm giving you tips right now. Understand?
Yeah, get your shit together and you will be a very happy individual. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Understand? So at the end of the day, we want to come home to see you taking care of things we usually taking care of. Come home and say, hey, hon, you ain't gonna cook today. We're gonna go and get some vegan food today. Is my treat. You know what I mean? Come home and see you come home and bought something that the house may have needed. Where is a sink? See, hon, look, we see that this got deteriorated, so I bought you a new one. Big man, that's more sense. Listen, come on. That is what we want to know, that you're observant to realize, like, honey, oh my gosh, she's been coming home tired for the last 2 days, and I know when she come home, she will be real tired. Let me get you a massage. Because let me tell you something. When you take care of a woman in the things that I just list, she's going to give you so freaking much, big man. She's going to double everything you've just done for her, because she realized that not only do you love her, but you're observant enough to realize that certain things that she may nag a weaker man about, you have done. And she isn't going to quarrel about with you. She isn't going to come at you with nothing. Why? Because you are in your element. That's what you're there for. Go ahead.
I was thinking about why it seems like, so this isn't a generalization for all men, you know, not all men are awful, you know, we're talking about the ones that have, don't do this stuff and who haven't done the healing, you know, work. So with that group of men, what I also feel like I've observed is the ignorance or the lack of awareness of how to do self-care. I think women are more inclined to do self-care, whether that is taking 15 minutes of your day where you need to just be alone and be in your own energy, whether it's, you know, the exercising, the eating, the calling people, checking in on people, and also talking about your feelings. I feel like self-care can manifest in so many ways. And I feel like men are not taught, shown, or provided the opportunity sometimes to do self-care. So you go around and you see these men who aren't taking care of themselves, and then they are in these relationships, and a lot of the times I think that they are seeking care from the women that are in these relationships. So if you have someone who's basically a child, like think about growth and evolution in this way. So if you're dating a man who's like a child, and they cannot provide for themselves emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and do that self-care so that they feel secure and that they feel like they are able to be at their 100%. You know, if you're with a man like this, then they're not going to be able to provide for you and care for you emotionally, physically, like mentally, in all these different ways, because they have not done it for themselves. So another thing that is, for me, important with healing is definitely therapy, but also intentional self-care for everyone in the Black community. Intentional self-care. We have to treat ourselves in ways that we know we deserve to be treated in, and treat ourselves in ways that lift us up and empower ourselves. We are taught that we must be at a 9-to-5 job every single day, and blah, blah, blah. We must deal with whatever. We are selling our body to capitalism, you know? We are selling our time to capitalism. Like we are not taking care of ourselves. And so for me, I feel like when we get into the space of guilt-free self-care, because a lot of people feel guilty. They're like, oh, I should be doing something right now. And I'm like, get that out of your vocabulary.
Oh, you just hit me. Yeah. Continue.
Yeah. So with this intentional attention to providing our emotional, mental, spiritual self-care needs that we can, I do believe that then that's what you bring into a relationship. I feel like for myself personally, I've historically been the one who's putting 1,000% into my relationship. And, you know, and sometimes when I'm feeling like, oh, maybe I wasn't the best in past relationships, you know, since being here back at my dad's, I've looked through some of my stuff, and there's old letters and cards or whatever from past boyfriends. And when I was reading all of them, and I was like, dang, I was showing them so much love based on like what they were, you know, sending to me, and to get that validation and feedback and kind of like years later, that kind of reflection to be like, damn, I was putting these people also before myself. And I'm not saying that shouldn't be done, but I'm just saying we as women are very inclined to care for, nurture, treat, heal, educate, teach, empower, uplift. Like, you know, we're the bedrock for like all of this. And so when we're doing all of that and we're giving these privileges to people who do not deserve or who are not willing to invest in that same kind of care for us, then I think that's when we start to break down a little bit, you know? So it goes along with what you said with boundaries. We have to, you can be loving, you can be caring, you can be nurturing, you know, to anybody that you want, but you have to remember protecting your energy, protecting your heart, and evaluating the situation that you're in is also pretty important. Like having those boundaries, like, ooh, I really want to get this thing for that man, or ooh, I really want to like help him out and give him some advice and to do this and that, like those are okay, but you have to have awareness of what the situation really is. You can't be given these like random guys, like boyfriend or husband, like privileges when they're not that, you know, to you.
I love that, girl. What you be speaking? Listen, I be writing what you be speaking. Understand? I got this shit here talking about. Yeah, girl, that was so good. That was so. You guys got that right, cause I got that shit. Like she said something earlier. Oh, and that hurt. It hurt me, but because I do that to myself. Like I have a friend here with me. She helps me do some stuff, right? And she was doing something for me the other day, and my little ass cannot stand still. She said, "You know what? I realized that Guyanese people cannot do nothing. I cannot not do anything. I always have to be doing something. I can't stand still. I always try and get up and do something around myself." So I that one touched the shit out of me because it kind of reinforced what she was saying to me as well. But I want to add something to what she was saying. And let's visit the word measure or measurement, right? She said something extremely powerful. She said that you love people above yourself. You put loving other people. You do things for other people. Let's measure it. This is a good measurement, right? Measure the things that you do, say, uplifting wise, everything good. You do say and think about this person that you're with. So, if majority of this spend thinking about how to do something better to make this work, how to act better to make this work, how to do better in terms of buying, catering, whatever it is that you do for your partner, right? Weigh that against what they do for you and how often you say, hey, hon, I love that curtain I see in town. Or, hey, hon, oh my gosh, you know, it'd be so great if we have pizza. Oh my gosh, you know, it'd be so great if we go somewhere. You know, it'd be so great if we sit down and watch a movie on Friday night. And that person make that happen, right?
Right.
Compare to when you say, them say, hey, hon, you know, I would love a pizza. I would love to do this with my boys and do that for my boys.
And you're just like making it happen.
Boom. Exactly. And then next thing you hear, honey, so remember your day, blah, blah, blah. Well, I call up your boys, boom. Or they surprise you with something. Compare how much of your wants that they've manifest and you get what I'm trying to say. And you get what I'm trying to say. Each are the ones that you guys have made manifest for each other. Compare it. Who outweigh who? Who consider who more? That is what you do. Measure your love, your consideration, your everything to your partner. Because at the end of the day, I believe a relationship and a partnership is about making each other's dreams and wants and love come through, right? And if you're in a relationship and they're not making anything happen for you, but you're making everything happen for them, you in a relationship move, them in a relationship.
Right.
I understand.
And I've been like in those situations, you know, where after the fact or whatever, you do start to measure. You look back and you're like, whoa, okay, this is where I was and this is what I was doing. And the reason why I'm feeling so depleted from that relationship, or the reason why I'm feeling so like heartbroken or devastated, is because you've invested this into it, and you've dealing with a man who's investing this into it, and then he breaks up with you, then he cheats on you, then whatever, and it's like, yeah. So I think not stopping it in its tracks, but being aware and acknowledging it in the different stages of your relationship, right? Like, this is the thing. We should always be striving to be the best partner that we can be when we're in relationships. I'm not talking about casual one night stands, whatever. I mean, clear communication should be in those as well. But I mean, in committed relationships,
right,
we should be striving to be the best for ourselves and for our partner. And if you're not checking in, and if you're not having those like heart to heart moments with yourself and with your partner, that is when the inequality is able to like slip in.
I agree with you. Like, for example, this is a perfect example for testing it out. You want to test this out? Open up a conversation, a normal conversation about anything. And let's say 15 to 20 minutes or less, you in this conversation are want to quarreling. Honey, that ain't a communication. Something is up there. You're not supposed to be quarreling about a conversation that has nothing to do with you or that person. It has to be more than that. Communication is key in any relationship, but everybody communicate, but does everyone understand the communication? That's my thing. I think we should change that thing from communication to key into comprehension is the key. Because if you can't understand the conversation she and I are having, who the hell are you communicating for? For what? You can't communicate.
I love that. So comprehension. So you can talk with someone, at someone, talk as much as possible. But if they are not comprehending, if they are not understanding, which is like the biggest form of intimacy, I think. Understanding someone is incredibly intimate. But if they're not able to do that, then you're talking to yourself, and that's not a conversation. And, you know, nothing can come from that.
Prime example. You are talking to your mate, your man, and telling him, honey, get up, do some shit, don't waste time, get a job, whatever. He ain't doing it. He ain't comprehending you. I understand you communicating, wanna talking, but his ass is not comprehending what you're trying to say. Comprehension is the key. Communication is not the damn key. Comprehension is the key. Once you comprehend the person saying, I really like you in pink, for some reason, it makes your skin pop. You look real beautiful. By the way, I'm talking about you actually. And that person really comprehend what you said, go there and realize, you know what? Yeah, my skin really do pop. I'm gonna get some more shit, you know? You know what I mean? They have comprehend your saying to a T. But if you tell that person, yeah, yo, pink look good on you, they may think, what do you mean this old thing, this thing? You know, no, I'm not saying the top look good on you, B. I'm saying the pink look good on you. Okay? Comprehension. So we as men, let's put the women out of the way. Men, your ego is your biggest default. Whether it be relationship, whether it be work, friendship, parenthood, fatherhood, your ego. You allow your ego to get bruised easily because you feel like you are not living up to the potential of whatever society has made a man out to be, and you don't know. So before you said, you know what, you're correct. How do I do this? You get angry, you deflect, and you let it go and still wallow in that insecurity without trying to solve that insecurity. Understand? So at the end of the day, black women are not here to hurt you. We actually are not.
You're right.
We want security. We want to stop living in survival mode. We want to stop thinking for everybody and have people think for us. And we want that in a mate, in somebody who's going to love us. We want to be able to love you freely without any holdback. If you have a woman and she is giving you every single thing materialistic but not her heart, she doesn't love you. She doesn't know how to allow. No, rephrase that. If you have a woman and she is giving you everything materialistically as you want, but she's not allowing herself to allowing you or her allowing herself to love you, sit back and question this. One, have I made my woman think that she cannot relinquish her love to me? That is a conversation to have to her. Secondly, if you know that you're doing your best and she is still not relinquishing her love, question who hurt her to make her so ironclad with her emotions. And if you really truly care about this woman, you're gonna help her to heal so she can actually love you. Love you the way that you want this woman to love you. And then when she do love you, what you need to sit down and say and ask yourself, before you decide to shell her down, do I really want the responsibility of shouldering this woman's emotion? Can I take care of her emotions? Do I want the responsibility of taking care of this woman's emotion? And if those answer is a yes, go heal that woman and watch her blossom. That's
blossom. Yes. Oh my gosh. ALANA, this is amazing. I feel like, especially with the things going on in my personal life now with, like, you know, witnessing friends and reflecting on my past experiences with relationships, like, I'm so happy we talked about all of this, and that, like, you were able to also, like, relate and empathize as well. I think sometimes when we talk to women, like, that extra connection of, like, oh, I know what you're talking about and I can validate this for you means a lot as well.
Yeah. My friend leaving. All right, don't forget the umbrella. I talk about you, I touch you here. Bye-bye. Right. No. Well, listen to me, this conversation was the shit. For lack of a better word. This conversation was so good. We have to do this again. This one specifically. Definitely. We definitely got to visit this because I feel like this is something that we need to talk about as people, as women, as men. And this is something of health. This is something of healing that we need to do. So she has to go. We're going to have this again. And I am so posting this next week. Okay. No, this was good, honey. We touched so many things. Oh, right. We touched so many things, and I feel like this is a perfect time to release something like this. So she has to go, and we will come back and do this again. With that being said, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for listening to this video. And I hope that you learned something. Comment, like, all of those good stuff that you want to do. Please check out her page. It is so good. I continuously post her link during here, so make sure to follow her and listen to her podcast when it airs. Please tell us about your podcast.
So I work for a podcast. It's called the Plantarian Podcast. So you can follow us on Instagram at Plantarian Podcast. We are a vegan company, and we are basically showcasing and elevating other vegan people who either have their own businesses, they're entrepreneurs, they're healers, they're natural workers, they're into sustainability, all things vegan. Doesn't matter where you are in the US, internationally, whatever. If you want to be featured on our podcast, you can message me through the Plantarian Podcast Instagram, or my personal Instagram is black_bird_photo. So Blackbird Photo, you can find me on Instagram.
Awesome. I want to go on her podcast to talk about food. You know me, I love food and I like to talk about the healthy shit. So I want to go on her podcast. So that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching our video. We are going to do this again. I like talking with her, and we do some good shit. So we're going to be doing this a lot. With that being said, bye, guys.
Bye.
Hey, you. Yes, you. So thank you so much for watching my video, and I hope that you enjoyed the video, and thank you so much for coming to my page. So I would like for you to subscribe, and I also want you to watch the last video, and I hope that you enjoy everything on my channel. Thank you.